Welcome, everyone. Second episode, Best Places to Lead, with one of my very favorite people. Brad is the founder of Seal Shield. It's a medical device company that he founded in 2006. And as I say, Brad is not only one of the most interesting people that I know, but a tremendous visionary leader. So thanks for joining us, Brad, and sharing the lessons that you've learned over the last number of years running Seal Shield.
Well, thank you, Jerry. Appreciate you having me on your show. Always a pleasure to spend some time with you. And thank you for those kind words.
Absolutely. Brad, why don't we start with just a little bit of the backstory about Seal Shield? I mean, I can go on about all the accolades, but 10 years on the best places to work, Inc. Best Places to Work, Ultimate CEO, Fast 50, which you guys just won again. I mean, it's not a secret that when you create a compelling company, you outperform, and you have done that. And so give people a little bit of the background of Seal Shield, what it is that you're doing. And then I want to dive right in and start talking about how you've run your company.
Well, I don't know how long a show this is, but I'd love to tell you about Seal Shield. It's one of my favorite subjects. I started Seal Shield back in 2006. I've been in IT sales and marketing my entire career, and I had my own manufacturer's rep firm. I repped a handful of lines into big box retailers that you don't hear a lot about anymore, Circuit City and CompUSA, guys like that. And I was approached by a client out of the UK who had developed a washable keyboard. And the idea was if you spill your coffee on the keyboard in the morning, you can go rinse it out under the sink and you're back in business. And they wanted to put this product into US retail. And I can tell you it was the worst reception I ever got to a product in retail. I literally got thrown out of CompUSA, one product company, no marketing funds, shrinking shelf space for keyboards and mice. So it looked like a total non-starter, but timing is everything, as you know, Jerry. And that
Amen.
Very same week, there was a front page story in USA Today that a University of Arizona study had found that the average keyboard had 400 times more bacteria than a public toilet seat. And it was a slow news week and every major news network picked it up. And all of a sudden, my phone just started ringing off the hook like nothing I'd ever experienced from hospitals who wanted to evaluate this washable keyboard for their infection control efforts. And I'd never done anything in healthcare, but it was very exciting. I think we sent out like 500 evals that week to hospitals that wanted to evaluate this product. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depending on how you look at it in hindsight, that product failed everywhere. It just was not engineered for what healthcare's requirements were, but it was obvious. Wow, there's a need here. If we can manufacture a product, make a keyboard that can be cleaned in a dishwasher, soaked in bleach, has self-sanitizing properties, that there's definitely a market for it. And so I acted on that market opportunity. I took my life savings, hit up my parents for some cash, and we thought we'd be able to develop that first keyboard for about 300 grand in about 6 months. And about a year and a half and $3 million later, we introduced the world's first dishwasher safe keyboard. And that product was an immediate hit. And we were able to then leverage the success of the washable keyboards and mice and start innovating in the infection control space. I guess as it relates to your podcast, the comment I would make that I tell people when they say, well, why did you get into this? I'll be honest, I got into it for the money. I thought I was going to be rich. I'd found a real market opportunity. And so far, the money hasn't come, but I've gotten religion along the way. I like to say I've gotten religion along the way. And what's become important at Seal Shield and what really drives our success is our strong mission to prevent infections and save lives. And it's all about people. So I thought I was getting into the keyboard business. I'm in the people business. And I think when you embrace that, those are the steps to having a successful organization.
No, you're 100% right. And, I just want to take a second because we have a bunch of people. Waylon's back, Zach Mitchell's back, Russell, who's your COO, is in the building as well. KA is here. Thanks, guys, for popping in. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat because you have an extraordinary leader here, one of my favorite people. Brad, to your point, I think when you look at this, and I look at your company, when you combine innovation, culture, the output is high growth, right? And so I think the thing that I have really appreciated about your business is this whole management style and thinking of ownership thinking. Can you walk people through what ownership thinking is and how it's infused inside Seal Shield?
Yeah, I'd love to, because ownership thinking is really the pillar of our culture and really allows us to do the things we do with excellence. And ownership thinking comes from the book Ownership Thinking by Brad Hams. I was fortunate to have Brad as a guest speaker in one of my peer mentoring groups. And I was so impressed with his message and really felt like it spoke to my philosophies that I hired Brad to be a consultant for Seal Shield. And he came in and designed an ownership thinking program for Seal Shield that we continue to operate today. And the background is kind of an interesting story. So I'll share it with your viewers. Brad Hams was hired to be the CEO of Mrs. Fields cookies in Mexico. So I think if you've been fortunate enough to try a Mrs. Fields cookie, you know that they're onto something pretty special too. And Mrs. Fields started making those cookies in her kitchen. And when they went public and became a multinational organization, they put their production in Mexico. And that's when things started to go wrong. And so they hired Brad to go to Mexico and figure out what the problem was and get the company back on track. And the thing that Brad noticed when he went to Mexico to the production facilities was that there was a huge disconnect between the line workers and the financial goals of the organization. And Brad theorized that he could teach the line workers in Mexico basic financial statements, give them a profit sharing incentive, show them how they can effectuate savings that increase bottom line profits, and that they can get a reward from that. And that was the basis for ownership thinking. And Brad was successful in Mexico turning around Mrs. Fields cookies. And afterwards he said, well, if I could do this with Mexican factory workers, I can do this with anybody. And that led to him writing the book, which has become such an important part of our culture. And at the basis of ownership thinking, and certainly at Seal Shield, this is true, ownership is a component. So all the employees at Seal Shield have an equity stake in the company. All employees have equity options, so they're owners in the company. And we have a very lucrative profit sharing plan where we contribute up to 20% of the company's profits at goal to the company profit sharing pool, and all the employees share in that money. And then they have RIP challenges, which are rapid improvement programs, where any employee can put together a team of people because they've identified an opportunity for savings that leads to bottom line profits. And if they achieve their goal, the team gets an award, but the whole company gets the award of increased profits, which again feeds the profit sharing pool. One of the things Brad found out is you can't have a successful profit sharing plan unless you have full transparency, so that no one knows that there's a shell game going on. And we've incorporated that at Seal Shield. And every week we have what we call our all call, where we get all employees, whether they're in the office or whether they're remote, everybody participates, and we open up the books. So we do a full financial review every week, and then a more detailed financial review every month. And those aren't, fudged numbers or phantom numbers. This is our actual operating numbers, because if you have great people who understand it, who are aligned with the financial goals of the organization, you share the progress on attaining those goals and give them a financial incentive, that's where the magic happens. And, part of this is ownership thinking, and part of it is about our core values, which empower our employees to do the right things for our customers and for the company.
I think it's amazing. Walk me through, Brad, because I talked to a lot of CEOs who get nervous about, hey, if people know how much money the company's making, geez, they might leave me. They may become disillusioned. That becomes like a fearful moment for them. And I'm aligned with you on this. I think sharing what the goals for the company are and how the company operates. When I ran the construction company, we walked people through a blanked out profit and loss statement. So we didn't have full transparency, but we did walk people through, like, here's where you are. Here's the sales of the company. So when we get a PO in from a customer, that's where this is. And literally showed them how to read a profit and loss statement. And here's where the costs are. And here's where maybe you can make an impact if you do think things differently. Because the only way that I can increase your your salary or to give bigger bonuses is for there to be more profits by which to share. Can you give me a little bit of your thinking in that? Because it scares the heck out of a lot of CEOs to have the level of transparency that you guys have, and you go through it every week on Monday's calls.
Yeah, it sure does cause a lot of apprehension with other CEOs that I talk to. That is a big leap. And I'd say that's probably the hardest piece for people who want to implement a program like this, to get past that stigma of full transparency on the financial side. But Brad has addressed this in his book, and he actually has a great graphic that we use as part of the program. And it's just a picture of a dollar bill. And when you have full transparency and have discussions around financial goals in the company, you have to set the baseline so that everybody is on the same page and understands what we're talking about. And it starts with that picture of a dollar bill, and you poll everyone in the company. You say, for every dollar we sell, here's a dollar we sold, how much profit did we make? And you're shocked by the answers. Some people say $1 in sales is $1 in profit. Some people say, oh, we have high gross margins, that's 85 cents. And some people say, no, it's 50 cents. Well, when you get down to it and you show them, hey, successful companies are making a nickel on that dollar. Really good companies are making 10 cents on that dollar. And the best companies might be making 20 cents on that dollar. And we work hard for those dollars to bring that dime to the bottom line. But if you save $1, then 100% of that dollar goes to the bottom line profit. So for every dollar you sell, you make 10 cents. For every dollar we save, we make $1, and you share in those profits. And the light goes off that people realize, wow, we work really hard to make those profits. But if we open our eyes to inefficiencies or opportunities to save money, every dollar we save is $1 in profit that goes to the bottom line, and I'm getting 20 cents of that. So that's the, I guess, the benefit of the full transparency. You have to position it right. But once people understand the numbers, then, and Brad calls it sharing the insomnia. You share the insomnia with the employees. They understand what keeps you up at night now. You're only making 10 cents for every dollar you bust your ass to sell. So that's kind of the philosophy there. And I know that's a big thing to overcome for a lot of entrepreneurs that want to implement this type of program, but it really is key to the success. You can't have a successful profit sharing plan and have engagement from the employees and have them fully aligned with your financial objectives unless they understand them and there's full transparency in the reporting.
I think you're 100% right. And part of that is that financial literacy to help people to understand. It's one of the things that I've always been lucky. I've been at the head of every company that I've run. I've always had to protect the P&L. I've always had to protect the balance sheet. It's come second nature because I got my teeth bashed in and I had to figure it out. But if you can get people aligned onto, well, here's how the mechanics of a business work. And, if you want more, then we have to do things differently. And I remember a conversation I had with, one of my people who didn't quite get the ownership thinking concept. And she wanted to know, this was when they were considering $15 minimum wage. And she wanted to know if she was going to get an adjustment as everyone else got an adjustment up. And I said, no, that's not how that works. Just because the government has given everyone a raise, that impacts us. We're going to have to raise prices, and walking people through that. And so I think that's the piece where CEOs miss. They're not willing to take the financial literacy and put it in the hands of their people, because heck, people have to balance their own checkbooks day in and day out for themselves. Running a company is no different. The mechanics are generally the same. And so I think that's a key piece.
I'd love to speak to the example you gave, because I see it as a separate issue, and it's something we face here as well. And we're all facing now with inflation. And
yes.
So you have to address the when the government raises the minimum wage, but are you addressing inflation? And one of the things about ownership thinking is to end entitlement. So you don't want people thinking that they're automatically getting a certain raise. Everything has to be earned. But the reality is, if you care about your people and you know that if you're paying them the same wage today, they have less buying power than they did yesterday, you have a responsibility to do something about that. And and for CEOs, that can apply to you as well, because even though you make more money than the frontline employees on your take-home basis, your dollars are worth less too. And so at Seal Shield, and I know a lot of other companies, this year we did a cost of living increase of 5% across the board. And I did participate in that. So I don't participate in the profit sharing at all. That's all the employees. But if whatever we're paying people, including ourselves, if the value of those dollars has gone down, that's something that we have the ability to address, and we have at Seal Shield for everyone's benefit.
I think it's one of the reasons why you're a best places to work, because it's something that I see time and time again. There are two mindsets that owners and CEOs bring to this. Are my people assets or are my people liabilities? And it comes out in the way in which comp happens. Am I sharing in the rewards of the company, or am I trying to alligator arm as much of it for the home team as possible? And what some people don't realize is your profits happen through your people. You should be rewarding them. You should be loving your people and caring for them. And when, you continue to see the CEO's lifestyle get better and better and better, when your lifestyle isn't getting better and better and better, that's where that divide happens. And you're right. I mean, I spoke about this at the CEO event that I had, which was, year over year, it was 7% inflation in December. And so it's a real thing. If there was no adjustment made in comp, then your dollars are absolutely worth less. And absolutely. So it's a crazy thing. One of the things that I wanted to talk about, you are all about fun. And that's one of the things I love about you. Can you tell everyone about Seal Shield? Our horse.
Seal Shield, the horse. Yeah. So that's one of the things we did. We did invest in a thoroughbred racehorse named Seal Shield. We had a lot of fun with the horse until unfortunately the horse was injured, and now the horse is recovering in a pasture. But that's just one of the things we do. And we had the horse stabled for a while near our headquarters in Orlando, and we took the whole company over to see the horse train, and got to see the horse race down in Gulfstream before she retired. But, we try to do a lot of fun things to differentiate ourselves. We had a hydroplane racing boat that was Seal Shield branded, and we all participated in that. As you know, we go to all the best sporting events and all the best concerts. In fact, eat your heart out, but I've taken 24 of our employees to see the Eagles tonight in concert. So that's just one of the things we do. And we have courtside seats for the Orlando Magic and front row seats for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we do those things for our employees and for our customers, because customers want to have fun too. So it's not enough to have the best product and service. There's social issues in life that we all partake in, right? That we all want to be a part of. And if all things are equal, I tell my people this all the time, would you rather buy from the guy who's boring and not fun, or the guy that's a lot of fun that you're going to laugh and that you can trust him to give you a good solution? And all these things help to build those relationships. That's the other thing. Absolutely. If whether it's with your employees or with your customers, these experiential events really build trust and rapport that has the ultimate value. You're getting the best out of your people, you're getting the most out of your customers, and we're all having a good time doing it. And that's the name of the game.
I think that's the critical piece of this. You look at the know, like, and trust arc of things. And so if you can build world-class relationships and you have world-class products that are behind it, boy, you have an unstoppable lead ahead of everyone else. Talk to me a little bit about, because it hasn't always been smooth, like every other business, there's been bumps in the road, but talk to me about how ownership thinking has impacted your ability to continue that path forward, having, inspiring your employees despite difficult circumstances. Talk to me a little bit about how it's helped you in that area.
Well, there's no doubt that it's been helpful in that area. We, like many businesses, have had our share of challenges, and we've had a couple of times during the course of the business where things were pretty dicey. And on two separate occasions in the ancient past, we've been in a position where we weren't going to be able to make payroll. And, we went to the employees and we told them, look, I'm really sorry, but we're not going to be able to afford to continue to pay you. But we'll offer you equity options and we'll defer that payment if you'll stay and work for nothing. We'd really appreciate it. And there's no feeling like coming in the next day and everybody's there.
Yeah.
And you don't get that if you don't have the trust and love from the currency you've created for investing in people. And when people know that what they're doing is important and that you care about the mission and you care about those people, they'll do anything for you. And I'm really proud of the people that shared the insomnia and went through the tough times with us and came out the other side. And now they have more stock options. When they
Mhm.
started getting their deferred pay, it was like double pay. And they suffered to get to that point, along with the company. But we would have never survived those incidents twice if we didn't have the trust and love that we'd created, through this type of partnership, through the ownership thinking culture that we've developed.
And it's amazing. And, I can see you get a little emotional. I get
I do,
emotional
yeah.
about it. You can't help but to run companies and be humbled that people believe in you and are joining this mission that I came up with. I had a crazy idea and people have done this. And now that we've got 60 people around here that we're caring for, it's amazing. And so I share because, people who know me well, I'm a high E. I will cry at the drop of a hat. But it is true, right? I think about, like employees, what works really well for employees for engagement. You know, do they have clarity of what they want, what they need to go do to be successful? Do they feel challenged by the work that they're doing? Do they feel cared for by, the person who's managing them? And are they comfortable that they have the tools and resources that they need to succeed? If you get those four things right for your people, and the thing that I think you're brilliant at, I mean, you're brilliant at all of it, but the care part of it, I don't think there's any question across your organization that people know Brad gives a shit about me as a person. It is a genuine interest, and that's why it works. I look at it, companies that I've run, love your people and treat them as whole people. It works when you do that. And it's like, yeah, the rocket ship that we're on, it could be to Mars or Jupiter, doesn't matter. But I got my people and I'm going to care about them. It's amazing.
And I tell you, when you go through those fires with those people, it builds a bond that nothing can break, and you come out the other side, and just with so much appreciation on both sides of what we've done together. That we went through the fire and we came out the other side, and there's nothing and nobody that can stop us now.
Teamwork makes the dream work. It's amazing. So Zach Mitchell had a question. He wanted to talk a little bit about the structure of the Monday all calls, where you share the financials. How long does it last? What forum do you utilize? How do you execute on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's evolved over the years and continues to evolve because we want to keep it engaging. So we try to change up the speakers. Sometimes we'll have, in addition to the initial financial update that we do every week, we may cover one of our benefits topics, a focus on benefits, how to become an HSA millionaire or a 401k millionaire. We might focus on a departmental issue, but we try to keep it fresh. And some of the things we've been doing that I think help that is we've had success doing Zoom polls. So, make sure people are engaged. We do some polls. And as we've gotten bigger, it's gotten challenging because we just have too many people. When we started the all call, the process was every single person spoke. Well, that was great when there were 6 of us. We all got to every week got a chance to speak our mind and share things. And then we got to 10 people and got a little longer, and then 20 people and 30. And then, at close to 60 people, that's not realistic. We'd be there all Monday. So we've started doing breakout sessions as part of the format for the all call. And we've implemented some best practices that we've learned through the peer mentoring groups. We start every all call with our peaks and pits. So we break out into groups and people share what they did over the weekend, something non-business related. What were your peaks and pits for the weekend? And then we all come back. We get the financial update. There may be some poll questions involved in those updates to keep people engaged. And then we'll have a subject topic, as I said, that makes up the bulk of the rest of the meeting. And then we always end on a non-work subject too. we have a question of the week. And I used to always come up with the question of the week. And I caught some flack on the quality of some of the questions. So that got delegated. And now Alyssa Gronko feels my pain and the pressure of coming up with a really good question every week. And we usually have a lot of fun with that. So that's kind of our format. Start with the peaks and pits, do the financial update, focus topic, and then we end with a question of the week.
How long does that run for you?
So it's typically about an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay. So, I mean, it's a significant investment, but, we've talked about this before. Very clearly, one of the biggest challenges inside growing companies is communication. And so what I used to be able to do at 10 people and just yell over, hey, Brad, that order is approved, ship it out, doesn't work anymore. And so you have to adapt and change the structures. I think All Call is a really good tool for people to connect the company together.
Well, it's just become a part of our culture. And you've mentioned tools, and that's a big piece of this, right? And as you grow, you need more advanced tools. And as you become a big boy, you need big boy tools. And, I've always told my people, with one exception, I've never turned down a request for an expense that's going to make you better. So if you need a piece of hardware equipment, if you need a new tool, if you need software, I've never turned down that request, with one exception. Every year in the anonymous feedback program that we have, it's not anonymous because I know Andrew McCarthy is asking for a jet. So every year he says we need to get a corporate jet, and he'll outline all the reasons why we need a corporate jet. And so with that one exception, I've never said no to a tool that we needed to be more successful. And that goes back to what you were saying before. If you get great people and you give them the tools they need and you empower them to do the right thing, and they're clear in the mission and vision, how can you go wrong?
Love it. I think you should get the corporate jet.
Believe me, I want it. A little premature. It's a little premature.
I don't know if you know this. You deserve it, Brad.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Gina had a question specifically about profit sharing, and specifically about how that gets divided out. So she asked, do the old guard employees get less when you grow and add more team members, or not really, because the bottom line is growing too? She's just saying she's never been in a company where it's done that before. So she's curious about how that actually happens.
Yeah, it's a great question. And if you read Brad Ham's book, he actually recommends having two classes of profit sharing, because the profit sharing is based on base salaries. So you get a proportional share of the profit sharing based on your proportional share of the base salary payroll. But at Seal Shield, we don't like having cliques and groups and casts. So we just have one group. And so everybody participates, with the exception of the CEO, with the exception of myself. And they divide that pool based on their pro rata share of the payroll. Now, the way Brad Hams outlines it and the way we operate is done quarterly. And then whatever bonus is achieved for the quarter, we pay out half of it. And when that money goes into your bank account, it's yours. It can never come back. But that other half gets banked to the end of the year, because if you have a great quarter and then the bottom falls out, you can't fail the business at the end of the year. So as long as you're making those quarterly bonuses, at the end of the year, there's a big windfall. And in 2020, which is our best year, I think some people had up to 40% more comp than their regular annual comp, or than their regular annual salary, just through the profit sharing. So in really strong years, it is a significant pay bump for people. But that's how we divide it out. It's half paid each quarter that it's achieved, half banked till the end of the year for a final big bonus check, and people get their share based on their pro rata share of the payroll.
Love that. A great breakdown there. One of the things that I think lots of companies are dealing with, and you were remote to start with, you put an office in Orlando, and now, COVID hits and we have, remote work. How are you guys dealing with that? Because you've always so progressive in your thinking and listening to your employees, but that is certainly a hot topic of what's the right balance of bringing people together, maybe particularly some of our junior people who are still training, and also giving people autonomy and the flexibility to work from anywhere, opening up, the opportunity to hire people not necessarily in Orlando. And so I'd love to hear how you guys are handling that piece.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, we started as 100% virtual company. And so we had no office spaces, and there were some benefits to that with our great benefits program and having people that can work from their homes and their communities. We were able to attract people that we wouldn't normally be able to get. And that virtual workforce was a big part of it. When we started expanding, we got involved with the University of Central Florida here in Orlando and a great internship program that they have. And we brought in a bunch of interns from their marketing program. And what we found was, as you said, it's challenging for those people. They're sharing an apartment with 5 other people. They can't exactly, find a quiet spot on the couch to make their calls. And so we got an office really just for the interns so that they would have a place to go to. And we found that it was so beneficial from a collaboration standpoint that it was something we wanted to build on. And so we expanded our offices here in downtown Orlando and started staffing out an inside team, customer service team, and really encouraging people to work in the office. While we still maintained virtual workforce around the country, we really tried hard to establish a center for our cultural base in a central office where a good portion of the people came to work. Well, then COVID happened. And of course, we all ended up going remote for a while. And then when we came back to work, because Seal Shield's an essential, our workers are essential workers during COVID. So we came back to work early, and, the world has changed. And one of the things we do every year is we do an anonymous employee engagement survey, and we record the data every year. And then we have a follow-up where everyone can provide anonymous input on all those items. And I read every word of it. And so last year we got our employee engagement survey feedback, and there was a lot of really well articulated arguments on why people felt that they should have more flexible workspace. And we had a long discussion about it. We said, look, the reason we've invested in the office is because we see the benefit of collaboration, creativity, and culture that we get from having the office space. But if we can all focus on not losing the creativity, collaboration, and culture, but we can be happier, healthier, and more productive, I don't care where you work from. And so we started a pilot program recently, a few months ago, where we started letting the traditional office workers work from home 1 day a week. And they stagger it. There's some guidelines around it. And then if we have events, everybody comes to the office when it's necessary. And we may expand that program out because we have achieved our goals. We haven't sacrificed the creativity, collaboration, and culture. Our people are happier, they're healthier, and they're more productive. And as long as you have those guidelines and you can measure against them and show that it's effective, what do I care where you work from, as long as you're doing a great job and you're happy?
I'm so with you. And so my assistant is on the call, Maria, and Maria lives in the Philippines. And so Roanne is on the call. She lives in the Philippines. And so I think it opens you up to a global workforce. And I've been outsourcing to the Philippines for over 20 years. And I think when you get away from this mindset that we are a physical location, obviously, if you're retail, you're in a physical location. If you are in a production or a manufacturing facility, then you need to bring people to a physical location. But all the rest of the world, if you can get your mind opened up to what remote work looks like, and you're hiring the right people who are aligned with your mission, who align with your values, do you care if they're in Tupelo, Mississippi, Austin, Cancun, Mexico? In my life, it doesn't matter where people are. You can work asynchronously. And one of the things I've been talking about, I'd love your thinking on this, but I said, the companies who are in this big, return to office push, some of the larger companies that are out there, I liken it to the digital music industry, who kept on fighting to keep their records and their CDs. And we're not going back. Remote work we're never walking that all the way back. And so I would push all of the companies to, how do you push forward and maintain, as you said, the productivity and all the other metrics that you need to make sure that your business runs. But if you live in a high trust world, does it really matter where people are? I mean, I know my wife's company, it's a a remote sales force because they need to go into hospital locations. They're all wonderful. They all get their stuff done. And so I think that will be the challenge forward of who's going to lead that forward. And so I think it will be interesting, as opposed to keeping those antiquated thoughts of like, I've got to get butts in seats. Maybe we don't.
No, we don't, but we need to leverage the technology that's out there to do it successfully, right? And that comes back to the tools again. If we can have the proper tools for people to be productive, if they can be productive and be happier and healthier, then of course that's the goal. But then you really have to be disciplined. So trust is a big factor, but you also have to have the right KPIs, measurement, and feedback. So it's trust but verify, right?
Yeah.
And if everybody has clear indication of their own performance, of the performance of the organization, we can drive to that, we can measure it, we can monitor it, have a feedback loop, know that we're successful, then there's no reason to tie someone to a desk anywhere, as long as you have the right tools for them, you have that trust, but you're able to verify because you have the right KPIs and measurement systems.
And I think it comes back to that piece. I've had some interesting conversations with CEOs who we're talking about, if we had more clarity on the output that we were expecting from people, then it would be way easier. But when we don't have that clarity and we're unsure about how people are actually helping the organization, then the easiest thing to do is to say, well, it's 40 hours, butts and seats. And maybe I get lucky. Maybe you hit a home run while you're hitting those doubles that I expect from you. And so I think if we could just open our minds up to anything is possible in work at this point in time. And I think the tools are coming. It's going to come harder and faster because people have just started to tackle what does it look like to work in a very distributed workplace. And there are just things that will blow your mind that are going to come down the pike. Any ones that you've used, Brad, inside Seal Shield to help bind the organization together? Any unique ones?
There's a lot of stuff. I mean, it started with WebEx back before anybody else was
Yeah.
virtual, and now we're all familiar with Zoom and Teams. But we have a lot of other tools to help keep us productive. We're fairly early adopter of an ERP system. So we have a NetSuite ERP system that handles everything from our CRM to our back office accounting, inventory management, and that's the backbone. But over time, it's gotten a little bit clunky in some areas. And so we've bolted on some add-ons to make the tool more productive for our employees. And I think I told you we've recently implemented HubSpot, which we're very excited about. And we've got the full HubSpot AI package for sales and marketing, and it's making, as we implement it, it's making our salespeople so much more productive. It's finishing emails for them. They have templates. They get auto responses. So when someone sends them an email, the AI knows what they're asking and says, here's the response that you usually use, or here's the data sheet that they probably want. And it's just making the productivity performance for sales and marketing, measuring the ROI, being able to track it against every incident. It's just a great bolt-on tool front end for us with our existing ERP system. And, we're making a big move here in the future to try and streamline our warehousing operations as well. And we'll be bringing in some software that's going to streamline that process to integrate with NetSuite as well, so that we can deliver better products in a more timely and efficient manner to our customers. And so we're always looking for tools to make us better. I guess I'd say to your audience, you got to start somewhere, but then, be open to expanding, because there's no one silver bullet. And I guess, maybe everyone's aware of this now, but the thing that shocked me, whether it was when we implemented Salesforce or NetSuite or now HubSpot, all these products do everything, but they don't do anything out of the box, right? So everything has to be customized. It's not plug and play, and you really need to find the right tool that fits your organization, and then invest to get it customized for what your needs are, and invest in getting everybody trained and adopting those solutions, because that's the only way it'll be effective.
I think you're right. When I look at the highest performing organizations, The investment in technology is what separates. I mean, speed is a killer, and the ability to have, geez, just every insight, every piece of data to say, twist it, turn it, pivot it, and let me figure out how I can understand this. I believe that people who are doing, data analytics and data scientists, I would put them inside one of my businesses if I was running a business that it made sense to, because the insights that you have and the data that's being captured and the ability now with open APIs to connect these platforms together, I mean, it is astounding the insights that you can get from your customers over time.
I agree.
Pretty interesting. Brad, one of the things that I just wanted to talk about, I think you have really a head start on this, right? And so what we've seen in the Great Resignation, 4 million people have left their job every month since last July, right? And I think we always knew that 2/3 of people generally didn't like the work that they were doing. Every survey would tell you that. But then suddenly people were at home, they were with loved ones, they were taking time to think because we weren't as interacting as much as we were before. And you're now seeing this tidal wave constantly, right? And I think one of the things that I've seen is people are unwilling to just be transactional. I'm not going to show up to a place that's really doesn't align with the impact that I want to go make in the world. That makes me feel, I use values. Values are your operating system. It's how you feel when you go home at night. And so, I just don't feel great about the people that I'm working with. And so you guys are already ahead of that transactional piece because you have the ownership thinking. So we're sharing in the rewards and the benefits of the company. But when I look at some of the reports that are coming out from Predictive Index and the Edelman Trust report, it's all about this whole concept that 61% of people are looking for purpose in their work, right? And they're looking to the CEO for the trust piece of it. Is there social responsibility that goes along with that? Can you talk just a little bit about, you did a little bit at the beginning, but what is the mission of Seal Shield? What is it that you're trying to go after? How are you changing the world? Because to me, it is remarkable. To me, it is compelling. And it is an opportunity to say, here's where we're going. Please come join us on this mission. And most businesses can't articulate the impact that they want to make, the values by which they're going to use to get there, for people to go like, these are my people. These are the people that I want to go and go to battle with every single day and have fun with. What's it look like for Seal Shield?
Well, it's a big factor for us, and we're very passionate about our mission to prevent infections and save lives through technology and data management. And there's a big problem in this country. A lot of people aren't aware. Everyone's focused on COVID, but what most people don't know is that every year in this country, 2 million people are the victims of a hospital-acquired infection, and as many as 100,000 people die every year from an infection they got in a U.S. hospital. The Center for Disease Control estimates that as many as 70% of those infections are preventable. Those are odds we like. And that mission to help solve that problem really does drive us. And I want to come back to something else you said. I think you said 61% of the people want to be inspired by the mission. And it's got to be at least that, because there is a real sociological issue that's happening with the labor force. So you talk about all the people leaving the labor force. I suspect a lot of them aren't coming back, because when you look at the population trends, there was this huge population boom with the baby boomers that are all now leaving the workplace. And if those baby boomers were in the workplace when COVID happened and they're leaving the workplace, they're not coming back. A lot of them decided to take early retirement. Life is too short to spend, the golden years spending all your time at the office. And then you have all this insignificant population growth that came after the baby boomers until you get to the millennials. And the millennials take a lot of crap from people. But let me tell you something. I love working with millennials because in some sense, they're very predictable because they really do care. about these
Yeah.
issues that we're talking about. And I think right now they're 56% of the workforce, and that may be old data. So they're going to be the main population group within the workforce. And I think the statistics are that they stay in a job for an average of 14 months or 16 months. And and you have to look behind that, though. Why is that? And what can we do to engage the people that are our workforce? So I hear these entrepreneurs complaining about millennials, and if you can't beat them, join them, because this is your workforce. They're not going to change for you. If you don't change for them, forget it. Now, fortunately for me, I share a lot of philosophical values with some millennials. We like to have fun. We like to have an important mission. And we've really grasped on to those issues, not just because they're my personal philosophy and I believe in it, but if you're not presenting that, if that's not your mission, that's not your culture, you're not going to attract the workforce. This is who the workforce is. This is what they care about. If you want to change the statistics, you need to change. They're not going to change for you. So I think that's been a
Amen.
real focus for us, that we do these things deliberately, understanding that, yeah, we like it, but this is what attracts our workforce and it's important to them.
The world is changing. I mean, I'm looking at the IBM court cases where they're trying to push engineers out and ageism. And it occurred to me at 47, I'm becoming the old white guy in the room. And so I have to work really hard to build relationships, to be relevant, to listen better than anyone else, because I'm starting to become the person that he's that guy. It's them versus us. And it doesn't have to be that way. But boy, do you have to be progressive. And to your point, it's not going backwards. You're not going to walk these things backwards. I think about, both of us grew up analogs, right? Computers were something that I got, well into, 8, 9, 10. And I look at my son who's 5. I mean, he never has known a world that didn't have an iPad or a phone. I mean, we had the radio on in the car and they were like, "Oh, can you skip this song?" I said, "There is no skipping." They were like incredulous. Like, "What do you mean you can't skip the song?"
Broken? It's
They've
broken?
always, right. But they've always had choices in their life. And so explaining things to them in different ways, it's not that we need to take an analog world and make it digital. The digital world is different. And so the whole notion of staring at a computer, I was listening to a podcast recently, and this young person who's an advisor to CEOs, she's saying we're having a face-to-face meeting. She would describe our meeting, Brad, right now as a face-to-face meeting, but we're not face-to-face as an analog. I'm not face-to-face with you because that means we are in person with each other. And for digital natives, the world has changed so much that this is the world. This is how we interact. We don't have to be in the same place. We're having a face-to-face meeting. And so those are the things that I think as we, as senior leaders, are steering the ship, we have to be listening to our people. And I think that's a thing that Seal Shield does, in my opinion, really, really well. And it's why your company has been an award winner and a leader and had such success and is continuing to grow.
Thank you, Jerry.
You're welcome. Brad, any last parting words? Anything? I always come back to CEO Charlie. What does CEO Charlie need to know that you've learned over the course of your career, leading Seal Shield since 2006? What are the speed bumps that you can point out? What are the potholes where you say, you don't have to get your teeth bashed in? I've already done that for you. Let me give you the lessons.
Wow, so many lessons. First of all, don't run out of money. That's a big one. But it really is all about people. When we started this podcast, I told you that I got into it for the money and I got religion along the way. And really that's what drives me now. And I tell the people that there's nothing more gratifying than seeing their success, especially when you have young people or people who are new in the industry, and you see them learn and grow and get promoted and take on more responsibility and achieve more. It's like the greatest thing in the world. It's like having a bunch of kids that you're seeing succeed all the time, and nothing drives me more than that now. And when you start embracing some of these things you talk about, it becomes less of that apprehension of, is this crazy? And more of, what can we do next? What can we do next? What can we do better? How can we be happier? How can we do it better? And that drives you, and it just to achieve that excellence in some creative fashion, or maybe out of the box, and to do the right thing, right? That so we're fortunate that we have a very powerful mission. We all know that what we do is very important. We're trying to prevent infections and save lives, and we've got a great collection of people who are highly talented, but also fun to be around. It's kind of the secret, and I don't know why it's a secret. It sort of seems like common sense when you talk about it, but again, I had to learn it. I came in thinking dollars, and I've gotten so much more. The dollars are coming, but there's so much more to it than that. It's about developing people and about doing something important, something that matters, and doing it with people you care about.
I think that is brilliant. It's what makes you an amazing leader. And I am so grateful to have you on here. Thank you, Brad. The last thing that I'm going to leave with is we're going to be back next week. I'm going to go break down the business acceleration model, which is a model that I've used to run all of the businesses that I've been involved with. It's everything that I use to advise businesses of why businesses either grow or stay really stale. So I invite you next week. And the last thing that I'll leave you with is, since December 2019, I've been doing office hours. It's an opportunity for senior leaders to come together and to solve the hard problems that you're having, because being a senior leader sometimes is really hard. So we do that every Thursday from 2 to 3 o'clock Eastern time. And I would invite anyone on this call to come join us. We are happy to help, because we are always better together. So Brad, thank you so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Jerry.
All right. See you guys.